Just a quick video today, mainly because we lost a giant of film last night, a big man of cinema, an undisputed giant of Italian horror, exploitation, science fiction and spaghetti western cinema, among many other genres that he threw his Stetson hat into the ring with over the years. And that man is Luigi Montefiore, also known as George Eastman, a veritable giant of film. It's quite surreal for me right now talking about George in such a way, in a, I guess you'd say, in a, how would I put it, eulogy. Because only last night, before I learned about George's passing, for some reason I had an inkling to watch something with George Eastman, and I chose 2019, After the Fall of New York, where George Eastman plays Big Ape, none other than Big Ape, in this awesome and highly entertaining Italian take on Escape from New York. And no idea why I happened to be watching a Luigi Montefiore or George Eastman joint, but perhaps the universe was telling me to do so, given that George was either shuffling off this mortal coil at the time or preparing to shuffle off this mortal coil at the time. So George was a highly influential figure in Italian cinema, to say the least. He starred in such classics as Last Fighter, 2019, After the Fall of New York, Warriors of the Wasteland, Endgame, the list goes on. Ben and Charlie, Boot Hill, for spaghetti western fans. One of his most impressive roles, I guess you'd say, was in Mario Bava's Wild Dogs, aka Rabid Dogs, a very cool, very claustrophobic Italian crime film, and personally it is my favourite Italian crime film of all time, Wild Dogs, aka Rabid Dogs, in which Luigi Montefiore, aka George Eastman, starred as 32. So I don't think I'm alone in my my shock and in my mourning, I guess you'd say, for this giant of Italian cinema leaving us too soon. Born in Genoa, Italy, and this was the closest thing I could find for my backdrop to Genoa, Italy, but it is what it is. So George Eastman, hopefully it does evoke a little bit of Genoa to those of you who perhaps knew George, whether physically, spiritually, or in his movies. But he was born in Genoa in Italy in 1942, and he sadly passed away last night, 20th of May 2026, at the ripe old age of 84. So he had a good run, I guess you'd say, although it is always sad to lose someone, especially someone from arguably the greatest generation, as George was, and or born not long after the greatest generation at least, but still did encapsulate a lot of that tenacity and a lot of that drive, a lot of that work ethic, and a lot of that willingness to win that we saw in his father's generation, who lived through the horrors of World War II and everything that came before. And needless to say, I think a bit of that probably rubbed off on Luigi Montefiore and did certainly shape his career and his legacy, his filmography, which wasn't just about acting. He also wrote a few impressive Italian movies. He wrote Endgame, screenplay for that one. He wrote the screenplay for 2020 Texas Gladiators. And I believe that he also wrote the screenplays for Anthropophagus and Absurd. So Anthropophagus is probably George's most widely remembered role in the cult film community. He played the titular Anthropophagus, the eater of men, who also eats his own guts in the movie. And suffice to say, George Eastman, aka Luigi Montefiore, was certainly an actor who did have a lot of guts, and not just when he was playing the Anthropophagus. So a few of my favourite George Eastman, Luigi Montefiore roles. I really enjoyed him as Gollum in 1990 The Bronx Warriors. He was great as One in Warriors of the Wasteland, aka the New Barbarians. And he was fantastic as the Big Ape, being typecast once again in 2019 After the Fall of New York, directed by Sergio Martino. And also impressive in Mario Bava's Rabid Dogs. He didn't just flirt with exploitation, flirt with spaghetti westerns, flirt with gore in the case of Anthropophagus. He was also in fairly mainstream movies as well, films like Baba Yaga, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe he also played the Minotaur in Fellini's Satyricon. So very versatile, very broad career. Taken too soon, gone too soon. So I think the best tribute to George, which was one I was doing last night, watching After the Fall of New York without even realising, really would be to watch for all of us to watch a George Eastman movie tonight, whether it is 1990 The Bronx Warriors, or Mario Bava's Rabid Dogs, or even one of his spaghetti westerns like Ben and Charlie. Really take your pick. George chewed up the scenery in all of them, and every movie was a better piece of work for him appearing in it or writing it. So that's about all I've got on the passing of George Eastman. I haven't really had a lot of time to process. The news sort of came out of left field. Unusually, he is getting a bit of mainstream press, which is long deserved and sadly far too late. It was a pity that George didn't crack it into mainstream cinema proper. I mean, there's always a role for a hired goon or a heavy, and George would have been perfect in any of those Hollywood movies. Perhaps there was a bit of a language barrier, but nevertheless, that never stopped people like Christopher Lambert, for example, cracking it in Hollywood, or Jean-Claude Van Damme. So surely there was a place for one George Eastman, aka Luigi Montefiore. And it's also appropriate that George did take his pseudonym from the guy that invented Kodak, the epitome of film, as it were. And it was most appropriate for George to take his pseudonym from George Eastman, the Kodak guy. Anyway, it's getting dark, it's getting cold here, so that's about all I've got on George Eastman. Thanks for watching, as always. If you're new to the channel, by all means, please like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the work of these kind of actors. And if you have seen the channel before, I look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, take it very easy.